Check out this story from Timcast.com. U.S. drone a complete loss after being hit by a Russian jet. These aggressive actions by Russian aircrew are dangerous, said U.S. European Command. That's basically the story. Oh, it's written by you. Why don't you tell us, Hannah Claire, what happened?
Makes me so nervous when you do this like popcorn reading in school. So there were 2 Russian Su-27 fighter jets flying above in international airspace above the Black Sea, as was an MQ aircraft, which is a drone. I know a ton about the military. I'm an expert here. And basically, one of the jets clipped the propeller, and it made it so the drone was inoperable. It crashed. They were also saying that the planes were like throwing fuel at the drone, and the U.S. European Command and our Defense Department were like, this is unprofessional. This is dangerous. How could Russia act this way? In response, Russia has complained several times that it does not appreciate that the U.S. and the United Kingdom have expanded their surveillance operations, especially in international, especially around the Crimean Peninsula. And so as it turns out, they aren't going to just roll over and let drones photograph whatever's going on there. And it's hard to say because Russia is saying, well, we're the ones who are open to the peace talks that the Chinese have proposed, but it's Ukraine that won't participate. It's double-edged all around, but I think this is one of those moments that if the U.S. wants to escalate, they will say, well, they're just getting out of control, these unprofessional Russian military planes trying to attack us.
I actually got a tip on some of the cockpit crosstalk from the Russian pilots. And as they were rolling up on the Reaper, they were playing Highway to the Danger Zone.
Watching Top Gun?
They were watching, and they was going to try and go upside down. And he peed on the drone, right, to communicate, right, like they were doing. Yeah. And then he got caught in the jet wash.
Oh.
That's what it was, right?
That's what it was.
See?
It was all one big misunderstanding.
It was all one big bad Top Gun.
Or is it basically Russia being like, we want these U.S. surveillance drones out of our war?
I mean, look, considering Russia's a nuclear-armed, what used to be a superpower, but they have nuclear weapons, I personally have no problem with the United States being in international waters monitoring. I have no issue with that. Like, the U.S. is well within their rights to be in international waters monitoring a conflict that could have, global consequences.
Except Russia knows that the U.S. is not just monitoring, they're actively providing the intelligence to the Ukrainians.
They're still in international waters.
Giving them targeting it.
It's still in international waters.
I know. It doesn't mean anything.
I don't think they were. I think this was...
If my neighbor is flinging mud at me and I'm flinging mud back, and then you're on the street telling the other guy like how to respond to me and you're helping him
behind that
I'm
bush.
Like, you are helping the guy who's fighting me. I don't care where you are.
It does, like I said, it's I don't see any problem with the United States saying, look, we're going to monitor this situation because of the fact that they have nuclear weapons.
Right. Except for the Russians, they're not just monitoring it, they're providing intelligence to Ukraine. They are actively engaging in war against us.
The United States is actually sending tanks.
Yes.
They're not worried about a drone monitoring. They're worried about actual material support.
Russia literally just took out one of our drones, likely because they're upset that we're spying on them.
I think it was more rubbing is racing and it got out of control. I don't think they were trying to take the drone. I think that was probably an accident.
If they were going to take it out, I imagine they would have shot it as opposed to hitting
it. You don't take that chance.
No. Shooting it is an act of war. Yeah. Oopsie, we bumped into it is call our bluff.
This is the only time one of these interactions has resulted in a crash. So there have been other instances where fighter jets have gone up to interact with the drones. This is the only one that has knocked out a U.S. drone.
Here's the thing. Vlad has no doubt in his mind whatsoever that we are at war with him. All right, he's got a shooting war with the Ukrainians and Zelensky. He gets 4 Ys. I gave him 4 Ys. But Vlad knows that we are not just a proxy in this. We are actively fighting him. So it's a U.S.-Russia war with Ukraine doing the fighting right now.
Not even. There's Americans on the ground. Right. American veterans volunteered
Malcolm
and then
Nance.
Armed by the Americans. That makes no sense.
The problem with Malcolm Nance going over there was
everything.
He ate so much that the rest of the Ukrainian troops couldn't get fed.
Malcolm Nance.
Look,
he's such a poser tool.
He's an embarrassment.
I don't disagree that the U.S., it's not unreasonable to monitor it. I just don't think it's unreasonable for Russia to try and prevent it, right? Like, acting like this is like some act of Russian aggression when actually it's Russian defense. Like, that seems sort of, it's like the American media wants the public to think Russia is suddenly getting aggressive in a way that it shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, the United States, the general population in the U.S. is extremely ignorant about the whole Ukraine war. No one even thinks about anything that happened in 2014. They don't think about anything prior to when Russia invaded, last year. And I understand that. And there's a lot of people that are anti-war that are like, the U.S. shouldn't even be looking over there because it could inflame things. I understand there are people like that. I'm just, in my opinion, because of the stakes, because of the possibility of nuclear war, I don't have a problem with the United States monitoring the situation. I don't have a problem with the U.S. If we're not in Ukrainian airspace, if we're in international waters, I don't have an issue with it.
But we're not, like Tim said, we're not just doing that. And the thing is, there is a goal now to defeat Putin. Right, to
That's
push
not
him all the
happening.
way, but that's Zelensky's goal. He wants him out of Crimea, and that is the goal of far too many people in the U.S. national security apparatus.
Let me ask you, Phil. If the U.S. operated artillery from across the Polish border into Ukraine to take out Russian targets, would Russia be like, well, they're in Poland, so
Operating artillery is not
intelligence is 100 times more important than one artillery.
It's still not. You can't say, there is no at all. There is no precedent for a state to say you cannot fly, or if you fly in international waters, we're going to take that as an act of aggression. There is no precedent like that, and that doesn't stand up to anybody's assumption of what is a reasonable act.
If you fly a drone and you provide targeting information to people on the ground who then attack you have committed an act of war.
You don't know that you don't know the drone
What's
is targeting.
What's it doing then?
That's literally what it does.
I'm sure that's what it's doing.
You don't know that it's targeting. If you don't know that
it's a reasonable assumption.
Are you serious?
you don't know that the drone is running targeting information.
Somehow the U.S. provided information on the Russian flagship to the Ukrainians to blow up. I wonder how they got the info.
Ukrainians are not dropping JDAMs, right? There's no drones lasing targets in Ukraine for there's no JTAC. They don't have an advanced war. That's not the war that's fighting.
How did the U.S. get the intel on the location of the Black Sea flagship? How did they get that intel?
The one that was in the sea?
In the Black Sea, there is the Russian flagship.
I imagine from satellites.
So not the drone that's literally flying over the Black Sea.
I don't know where. I don't know what the sorties
what would
they're
the drone
running.
be doing?
I don't know what the sorties they're running. I don't know what the strategies. I don't have insight into the people that are actually running the plans.
What does the drone
to say
do?
that just a drone could be monitoring with video. They could be monitoring ship movements. There's all kinds of things that are totally legitimate and totally not escalation. Or acting in the war that a drone could be doing, just monitoring.
The U.S., this is a fact, gave the intelligence to the Ukrainians to blow up the Black Sea flagship of the Russian Navy.
I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't know. I'm not gonna argue that they didn't.
Now Russia could be sitting there going, well, it could have been satellite, or it could be that thing flying around in circles above the Black Sea. Let's ignore it completely because I don't know what it is.
Even if it's a satellite, is it not still the same thing? If you give targeting information to someone who uses it to destroy a piece of military equipment, you are an active participant in that.
There's not
that's
really,
material support.
There's not a question of whether or not the United States is lending material support. Everybody believes that the United States blew up the.
Then why are you shocked that Russia would clip or take out an American drone?
Who's shocked? I'm just saying that the U.S. has every right to be there. They're in international waters, so it's not an aggressive act to be flying a drone in international waters is not an act of aggression by the United States. That's all that I'm saying.
And I agree with you because I don't want that to become a standard. At some level, we do have freedom of maneuver and navigation anywhere we want to be.
Yeah, international waters is international law. Any military can operate in any military has
not when you're at war.
Any military has legal authority to operate in international waters.
Law is meaningless in war, completely meaningless. Like I find the idea of war crimes laughable. Like somebody who wants to win a war is going to win a war, and they don't care what you think the crime is. So if let's say we were at war with Japan and they bomb Pearl Harbor, And then all of a sudden, Japanese fighters are buzzing buzzing Hawaii again. We're gonna be like, well, hold on, guys. They have every right to fly around international waters. We're not going to strike them. We blow them up. 2 seconds. We don't care what they're doing.
We're
We blow
not
'em
in a
up.
declared war with Russia.
We
What does
haven't been in a
declaration have
declared
to do
war
with-
since when? When was
World
the
War
last
II.
Korea?
World War II.
So
World War
we're
II,
not
so it was-
we're not in a right now. The
We're at
United
war with
States is
Russia.
not in a fighting war with Russia.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's
So,
a pretty
okay.
high
But
distinction
you're
at this
pulling an
point.
Ian
Okay.
on this one. Ian's like,
Okay.
we didn't declare war, therefore we're not at war. It's like, okay, well, there's U.S. Special Forces, U.S. personnel, U.S. tanks, U.S. training, U.S. intelligence, and the Russians have outright declared we're at war with them. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.